Hi, I'm Dr. Kelly Barron, and welcome to the Kelfire Show. And with me today is Heather Ballrichter, and I'm very excited to have her because she's got a very important story to tell, and one I think that many women have experienced and don't feel like they have a platform to share their story, and women that are faced with this decision and don't quite know what information or what to expect. So Heather's going to share her story about having a hysterectomy at a younger age. And I'm just going to ask you if you can just share your story about what your experience was like.
Yeah, so it actually started back when we were living in Cincinnati, and I'd gone in for my yearly OBGYN checkup, and I had a new doctor, and my midwife that I'd seen since I was 15 was no longer with the practice, and so I was meeting this woman for the first time. You know, you go in thinking it's going to be fine, I'm not having any different symptoms than usual, and right away she doesn't get to know me, doesn't ask me if I have any concerns, if anything's bothering me, and just very cold. And so I just kind of went with it. And then she starts doing my exam and she tells me, "Oh, how long have you had the fibroids?" And of course I just start kind of having this like internal like, what's a fibroid? Is it bad? How bad is it?
Right.
What is she talking about? Why don't I know about this? And fast forward a little bit, I find out that fibroids are tumors, non-cancerous, of course. But she does the ultrasound and tells me that I have 5 very large ones and some smaller ones, and that I should have an ablation. So I'm like, okay, well, this is all happening very quickly. I just need time to think about it. Like, let me go home, do some research, talk to some people, talk to my husband, probably cry about it because it just was very abrupt. And so in having conversations, I did some research, looked at the pictures, and realized that the type of fibroids I had were growing within my uterine wall. So it wasn't just like they were on the outside of my uterus, they were on the inside of my uterus. They were growing in the wall. So in the reading that I'd done, an ablation wasn't necessarily going to be the best choice. We were also moving in 2 months to here, something we had been looking very forward to. And I just had this feeling that it wasn't the right time or the right person to do that for me.
Did you know when she said that what an ablation was?
No, I knew nothing. I mean, she kind of told me that, you know, what the process of an ablation was. And then she was like, yeah, and they might grow back and you might have them again. And she was just very blasé and not personal, not caring, like my midwife that I'd been seeing.
Right. It's very shocking.
Forever would have been more caring and nurturing about it and not so like in my face.
And for anybody that doesn't know what an ablation is, can you give just a quick explanation?
So my non-medical expertise
Which is perfect.
They basically burn the fibroid off. So it's like burning and shedding of that wall, right? And getting rid of the tumor. Do not take what I'm saying for expert
But
advice.
I would see how, like, if yours is growing into the wall, that's not going to solve the problem.
It's not going to solve it, right? So it just didn't feel right. And a little bit of background, my husband has leukemia. So since 2011. So a lot of what we go through, we've really learned to listen to our bodies and not what doctors are saying based on things. And I just really felt strongly, it's not a matter of life or death right now. I want to sit on this and wait, and maybe I can find a doctor in Charleston that I feel more comfortable with, you know, my health plan.
Right.
And I was lucky enough when we did move here very quickly, a new friend that we had met through, I think we met her at the gym, just, you know, striking up conversation similar to how I met you, right? Yeah. She had recommended a dermatologist, a PC, an OBGYN. And she's like, my OBGYN is fabulous. You should, you know, talk to her. And so I got an appointment with this woman. And from the minute I met her, she just has this very calm aura about her. And so when I was talking to her about my situation, she said, I'd like to take some new pictures to see how quickly they are or aren't growing, and then come up with a care plan for you. And so we did that. And I had another ultrasound, and she said, you have a decent amount, but an ablation's not going to be your option. I really think we need to look at having a hysterectomy. And so
I can't imagine how shocking those words are.
It's very shocking, and it comes with a lot of emotional stuff that you have as an individual. So I'm a stepmom, but I don't look at them as my stepchildren. I've been with the youngest since she was 3. She doesn't remember life without me. I helped raise them. Like, they're my children. But I'd also always wanted to have one of my own.
Right.
And so you hear those words, and it's kind of like, full stop.
How old were you?
42.
42.
So even though I'm, at the age of 42, and my husband and I have had many conversations about where we are headed in life and what we want, and have come to an agreement, and it's still final. It's still fine. Like, that's it. And so I talked with my doctor, I talked with my husband, and I did a little bit more research on my own. And a hysterectomy was really the best option. I mean, I didn't realize the back pain I was having, the discomfort during sex was attributed because of the fibroids. One of the fibroids, I don't know if I mentioned this, was the size of my uterus. And that was just one of them. So it explained my heavy periods, the pain, the back pain. And she said, I think you're going to realize after you have this, even though it's a really serious procedure, you're going to feel a lot better.
So you, up until this point, any symptoms that you were having, you didn't know were symptoms. You just thought they were regular life.
I just thought it was, you hit 40, Heather.
Everything just goes.
Welcome. Here, we're going to hand you this today. Oh, you're going to have this. You're so busy with life. We are all so busy. And I think especially as women, we have so many responsibilities that society is putting on what we should do, how we should be. There were a lot of other things. It's just a lot. You don't take time to think about, okay, so I'm starting to have more back pain. Maybe I should look into why. Should I stop doing CrossFit? Should I get into more yoga? Should I, what should I change? You don't take the time.
No, not at all.
I do now. I really do now. Probably too much, but at the time, so many new changes, right? So we scheduled the hysterectomy. I had it in November of 2019, and it was done by a robot. So I have 4 scars. That's it. I still have my ovaries, but I just became a different person. I don't know how to explain it. I just, after the recovery, which the recovery was okay, you can't lift heavy things. You're not supposed to work for 2 weeks at least. Very slow moving.
Right.
I didn't have many issues with the recovery per se, physically, but the mental piece of it really, really hit.
Yeah. Can we back up just a bit? How, if any, consciously did you prepare physically or emotionally for the surgery?
I didn't. And I think I didn't think about that because no one really talked to me about it. I think women are so scared to speak about anything in fear of judgment. We're already judged, unfortunately. I hate that because that's not how I am. But
right.
I did ask my friends before the procedure. I said, hey, just FYI, I have this happening in a few weeks. If anyone's willing to share your story with me or things that I can do post-surgery, pre-surgery. No one really had anything pre-surgery. I had a few friends that were either my age. One of my college roommates had one, so she reached out to me off to the side. A coworker who's a couple years older than me had one at the same age. So they had kind of post-surgery recovery tips or things to do that might help with the discomfort. But it wasn't about the procedure, or it was about the procedure and not the mental state of it. It was about get a heavy pillow to put on your abdomen because the pressure will feel good. You're going to have a lot of gas in your shoulders and cramping, so you're going to be super uncomfortable. So try to do this. It wasn't any of that, mental and emotional help that I think looking back 5 years later, I think people need, they need to talk about how you're going to feel less feminine.
This is what drew me into your story, was when you started from the point of post-surgery and how it changed you mentally and how you perceived yourself and what you were feeling about yourself. So, I mean, please get that out there, because that's the most important thing. It was fascinating.
I think it's probably a combination of things. So for everyone, it'll be different, as it should be, because we all have our own journeys that we're on. But I had just moved to a new city. Charleston is kind of like the lifestyles of the rich and beautiful. I mean, it is, right? And I had moved from the perfect Midwestern town that I grew up in. I loved. It's what I knew. It's where my people were. I came here with a pixie cut that I had rocked, that was my identity from the age of 20 until 43, 44, post hysterectomy. And I was in this new environment where I wasn't feeling physically like a woman. When women would start to talk about periods and having babies, and it's just a different place to be. And I was just feeling not feminine at all. And God love my husband, because he's my biggest fan and, supported me in every way he could. But there's just that piece of being a woman that it didn't feel like I had it anymore.
Yeah.
And so I was experiencing a lot of those hormonal side effects post the surgery. And so my doctor put me on progesterone. Well, I'd never had anyone talk to me about all these supplements. HRT. What's HRT? I don't know what HRT is. Well, it's hormone replacement therapy. So maybe we should look at testosterone shots. Maybe we should look at this. Why aren't you on estrogen? I don't know why I'm not on estrogen. I'm not a medical professional. Like, what do I need to be on for all of this? And I would say over an 18-month period, the only thing that didn't change was the 200 milligrams of progesterone that I was on. And yet, when you hear that number and you talk to other women that are on it, they're on 20, 30 milligrams, maybe 50 at most, and it's helping them. I'm on 200 and I'm still not sleeping at night. So I was having issues sleeping. I was having issues with losing weight. I was having night sweats. But then when you explain to them what your night sweats feel like, they're like, oh, well, if you're not soaking your clothes, you're not really truly having a night sweat.
What?
Yeah. And so it's this constant dance of trying to tell them, this is how I'm feeling, this is what I'm looking for, and trying to find that calibration of, you need to be on this amount of that, this amount of that, this amount. Okay, well, we're going to take you off of that now. Maybe the testosterone shots aren't working, so let's try a testosterone cream. Maybe you need thyroid medication. So then I was put on NP thyroid.
It's always the default.
And I didn't know that. So I was put on 60 milligrams of NP thyroid. And this is not my OBGYN. It's a different doctor putting me on this. NP thyroid, 60 milligrams. Go back 3 months later for my lab work. We're not really seeing any changes, so we're going to bump you to 90 milligrams. Again, I'm counting on medical professionals to help me through all of these symptoms I'm now experiencing that I have never experienced, on top of not feeling very feminine, on top of doubting my, am I attractive? Do I look like a woman? Do I feel like a woman? I've always been a woman that struggled with her confidence. I know I'm a good person. I know what my value is, but I'm just not one of those women that just has ample to share, right?
Right.
And so I'm listening to these medical professionals try to tell me, this is what you should be taking. This is what's going to help you. This is what's going to fix you. Then my hair starts falling out. And I already have a pixie cut at this time still. And what little hair I have is just starting to come out. And somewhere along the line, I'm like, after all these years, I'm going to grow my hair out. Maybe growing my hair out will make me feel like more of a woman. Maybe,
You try anything.
You try anything, and in some ways I do think it helped, but I don't think it helped in the ways I thought it would.
Oh, explain that.
When I started all of these, different options of medicine and paths and seeing different doctors and seeing a thyroid specialist and, a natural doctor versus a regular PC that's going to give you the prescriptions and all that jazz, working with nutritionists to see if that will help with losing weight. I started growing my hair. I got my nose pierced. And it became this like renaissance of Heather. And I think I was coming out of who I had been for 42 years, of who people who had expected me to be, if that makes sense. I'm around the same people who know me as little Heather Flake, not Heather Ballrichter. I'm still this person. I think moving here to a new place, not knowing anyone, having that ability to kind of get into things that I want to get into, find hobbies that I like. I also was no longer a mother in the way that I'd been for so many years. And everything that I had in me, I had poured out into everyone else.
Yep.
And so now I was in this new phase of my life, and I had so many things going against me. I was like, this might be my opportunity to come out of it kind of like a phoenix, if you will.
Yeah, a metamorphosis.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like it's cliche or corny maybe to say, but you came from a caterpillar to a butterfly.
Yes.
Or new pair of wings, different color.
Yes. And, my husband called it my renaissance. He goes, look, you've spent so many years taking care of everyone else. Like, you really need to take care of you. And if anything is telling you, all of these things are pointing to that. It's time to take care of Heather. So I looked at all my medications. I was talking to a bunch of people. I started having open and real conversations. And I've always been a real person. I will tell you exactly who I am. I'm not afraid of that, but it's getting other people to do the same.
Right.
And so I found the more vulnerable I was about my story, the more I got people to open up about their stories. And I had this great conversation, crazily enough, at my hair salon, where I was talking to my stylist, who is a client of my husband's. He's a personal trainer. So she knows him very well. She knows me very well. And I was talking about it and all this medication and the hormones and what side is up. And this other woman started talking to me about her story. And the next thing you know, there are 5 women sitting at these chairs having this really vulnerable conversation about where they were in their journey, either with an ablation, a hysterectomy, any kind of female health issues. And we were all just saying, here's how I feel, here's what helped me, here's what I'm doing now. Anything from diet and exercise to HRT to natural stuff, different doctors. Fast forward to me looking into all of this thyroid stuff and the side effects of not having enough or too much. And I started questioning, why am I on this? I've never had anybody say I have a thyroid issue.
I know, and this is what, it just really upsets me. And I'm glad you could tell the story about this.
Yeah, so I go see a thyroid specialist, and they do an ultrasound on my thyroid. And it turns out I have an incredibly healthy thyroid.
Of course. Well,
and there's no reason that I should have ever been put on NP thyroid.
How frustrating was that moment?
And
and did you know deep down?
I did. And I kept telling my husband, I'm like, Damon, I'm not me. Something is not okay. I don't know what it is. I've tried so much. I just don't feel like the best me. Like, I am off. And we attributed it to moving. We attributed it to me being a social butterfly in a new environment where I didn't have strong friendships, to COVID, to my hysterectomy, to a new job, like all of these things. And I just kept feeling my gut. I'm like, I am not me. Like, I'm not okay. And so when this nurse practitioner was doing the ultrasound, she's like, I don't want you on this. Like, let's look at some other things that maybe we can do, but you should not be on this. Also, that was I'm losing track of like when what appointment was. Last January, so a year and a half ago, I had a bike accident where I broke my wrist. In 42 years, I've never had stitches. I've never broken a bone. I fell off a beach cruiser, and I'm athletic. Like, there's no...
Right.
It was a freak accident, right? When I get to my surgeon, and he sees how, to use his words, pulverized my bone was, he was looking at my medication, and he said, how long have you been on 120 milligrams of NP thyroid?
No.
So I'm like doing the math in my head. I'm like, I don't know, like 4 years, 3.5, 4 years. And I said, I've just recently stopped. And he goes, okay. He goes, because higher doses of thyroid medication have been shown to weaken bones.
Mm-hmm.
Also a fact I did not know. And he goes, so I'm just curious if that attributed to how broken your wrist is.
You gotta put the two dots together on that one. And that feeling.
I just was like, I can't even. That breaking of my wrist was very much a catalyst in me really, really changing and realizing I'm in charge of myself. I'm in charge of me. I will make decisions for myself. I will do the best I can to be the best me. And I kept asking the universe for a break, and I be very careful
what you ask
for, because earlier that morning I was on my yoga mat and I was in class at my yoga studio, and I cried the entire class. I just laid on the mat and I just cried. And I was like, I just need a break. I need a break. I was like, please give me a break. Did not mean a literal break. Did not mean that 5 hours later, when we were headed to the beach for a bike ride, I did not mean an actual break. But in some ways, I just took it as, this is it. This is where you either change or you just stay in this routine of whatever you've been in. And I started speaking more positive, kind things to myself. I started trying to find new people to hang around. And it wasn't even that it was anyone here. Just that mindset of, this is who you are now.
Mm-hmm. Say
yes to the things that make you happy. Stop trying to be a people pleaser.
Embracing your own self, your own happiness.
Yes.
No apologies.
No apologies. I am me. I would love to cuss, but I'm not going to.
You're allowed to.
I am so fucking proud of me because I did it. I did the work.
You made the most powerful statement to yourself when you said, I'm in charge now.
I'm in charge. Yeah. I'm in charge of me. I'm in charge of what I say yes to, what I say no to. I don't owe anyone an explanation. I don't. You can love me or leave me, whatever. I don't care. At the same time, I had met some friends that were super confident women that just had this, I'm a badass vibe. And I was like, I want that. I've never been that person. I have been that for everyone else.
Mm-hmm. But never for you.
Yeah.
How do you feel about yourself now? How do you feel about your body now?
It's not perfect.
It's never going to be.
It's never going to be. I've got curves. I'm a woman. I look like a woman, and I'm proud of it. And I'm strong. I want to get a tattoo on my scar. My husband used to tell our girls, he still does, that they're strong and powerfully beautiful. And so that has been, since I broke my wrist, that has been my mantra. Because beauty's not just about this and this. It's about the whole package. It's about who you present to people that want to be around you. Those are your people. Those are the ones that you invest the energy in. And when I look in the mirror, like, I always smile, but when I look back at myself now, I am so proud of myself because it's been a long 5 years.
It's a long journey.
It's been a long journey before that, because that's not even taking into account all of the things that led up to who I was before that, which was a lot.
When we sat together, there was maybe five of us.
Yeah, yep.
5 of us.
Yep.
We don't really know each other that much.
No.
But within 5 minutes, you started your story. And maybe only got out a minute of it. And all three of us started chiming in. And I'm going to cry. I'm going to cry because I'm really going to cry. I don't have a menopause story yet. I'm sure it's coming.
Yeah.
But when you were telling about the loss of, holy crap, the loss of femininity, and my first child, I'd always planned for a home birth, so I was very invested in a vaginal birth, and things happened. He didn't want to come on time. I love you, Devlin, you're so lazy. And so we had to go in emergency transport to the hospital, and I ended up having a C-section. And after that, I really lost confidence on being a woman. I was like, am I broken? Can I not? So it's not necessarily the same, but the feelings.
No, it's your story.
And I was like, I have to hear more of your story. And just like women would want to hear my story, women
Absolutely.
need to hear your story. Women
Yeah.
need to, but the biggest message is that you found within yourself the courage, and that takes a lot.
It took almost everything. It broke me. I mean, it broke me.
And then to come back, so like you said, a phoenix out of the fire. Yeah. And that's fine. Coming back, that's huge. But most women then they're too ashamed, or they're too scared, or they don't have a voice to tell other women. And just like your story said, if we would just tell our stories more.
Yes.
And be proud of them, embrace them, the right moves, the wrong decisions, yes. And how you got to where you were.
Yes. And if I can help just one other woman, right? I mean, crazily enough, talk about timing. My best friend from back in Cincinnati just sent me a text message and said, hey, I have a friend who just went to the doctor and they're advising her to get an ablation. And either an ablation or hysterectomy. And so I'd love for you to either tell me what you would advise her, or if she can call you and talk to you, something. Like, can you do that? Absolutely. Absolutely. And then going back to your question about how do I feel about myself now? You know, taking classes, dance classes, mm-hmm. showing up in running shorts and a t-shirt because that's what I feel confident in. And now I'm like, no, I can wear whatever I want. Mm-hmm. I'm strong and powerfully beautiful.
You are.
And that dance class has helped my confidence in seeing beauty and strength in more ways than I ever would have given it credit.
It gives you the, and in whatever it is that you find,
yes,
the ability to tap into what your definition of sexy, what makes you feel sexy, yes. which then makes you confident, yes. makes you walk taller,
yes.
finding your femininity,
yes,
and just embracing it.
Yes, yeah.
So if you could give any advice to someone who's like you just said, this woman who is facing a situation like this, and it doesn't have to be, I'm not asking medical advice, just like mindset advice, what would it be?
Listen to your gut. Listen to what your body is telling you and where you feel what the best path for you is. Because if I hadn't listened to that, I don't know, I probably would have just done the old Heather thing and had that doctor that was just horrific do my surgery before we moved, because I had the safety net of my, mm-hmm. friends and family, despite whatever she was and how she behaved. Research.
I think that's so important.
Research. Ask questions.
Yeah, and don't be afraid.
Don't be afraid. Ask another question. And if you don't understand, ask another question. Get a second opinion. Why are you putting me on NP thyroid?
Yeah.
Why?
All right, so I have 3 completely fun questions.
Okay. Hit me.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, for all intents and purposes,
yes.
you have hit every symptom of perimenopause, menopause.
Yeah.
I mean, all in like the shortest period of time. Where most people have like this 10-year run-up to start, and you just got smacked in the face with every single one of them.
Yep.
So we're going to call not necessarily menopause, but your experience.
Yeah.
So if you could say your experience /menopause/perimenopause was a drink, a cocktail, any alcoholic beverage, what would it be?
Oh my gosh. Wow, that's a great question. Bloody Mary keeps coming to mind.
Oh, I love that. No, we'll run with that.
Bloody Mary. I can tell you why, but Bloody Mary.
Bloody Mary it is. I might actually feel you on that one. I didn't even think of that, but that's great. Okay, if you could change the name so it's menopause, we're going to, again, assume it's your experience.
Yeah.
What would you change the name to be?
Her story?
Oh, I love that. I went with the 7 Circles of Hell, but your story is excellent.
Her story.
Yeah, her story. I like that.
Instead of history, her story.
So if you write a book, why don't you just call it Her Story?
That's funny you say if you write a book, because my husband, about 3 months ago, 4 months ago, we spend a lot of time in the pool together, which is fantastic. It's like 5 o'clock, 5:30 at night. No one's at the pool. We're there, and we just talk about everything like best friends do, right? And I hope everyone has that in their spouse or significant other. But we just talk, and he's like, you need to write a book. He's like, you have a lot.
I absolutely think so.
You have a lot.
And I just love her story.
Yeah.
It's powerful all on its own.
Yeah.
All right, last question.
Yeah.
If your experience, if you had to make a theme song for your experience, what would that song be?
Oh, like a new song or one that exists?
No. No, one that exists.
Okay.
From anywhere in time and space. This is a good one.
This is a good one.
This is a stumper.
Wow.
I chose Welcome to the Jungle.
Oh, that's so funny. That's really funny for many reasons.
Yes.
Good one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Also, Axl Rose, when he was young. Last time I shouted him out, I'm like, if you want to come on the podcast to talk menopause, I'm your girl.
That is amazing. Yes. This is going to be weird, and it may not connect because I'd have to listen to the lyrics again. I'm really a lyrics person. Cold Heart by Elton John and Dua Lipa.
Ooh.
And I want to say only because I had that song on repeat so many days, so many times, driving to yoga, down 17, on repeat.
That's your theme song. If that's what was getting you through,
Yeah,
if that's that's your theme song.
It made me happy. It centered me. I hate to dance. I don't like to move, which is hilarious that we met in dance class.
Which is ironic.
Because of the whole body image thing, right? Mm-hmm. It really comes back to, I've got a booty. In the 70s, 80s, and 90s, when I was growing up, booties were not a thing.
No, they were not in style.
So I got made fun of, but I got a booty. And so I don't like moving my body. But when I hear that song, this girl will dance. And so, I don't know. Maybe that's it. Cold Heart.
Well, we're building a playlist for the Kel Fire Show Spotify playlist. And every time I ask this, another song goes on. It's going to be the most eclectic
I love it.
Playlist ever.
Those are the best playlists.
But I hope that everybody equates, like, I remember when Heather was talking, and that's why this song is important to her. And that it's just something that's fun.
That's fantastic.
Heather, thank you so much for coming on today and for making me cry.
Not intended.
It felt good.
Not intended.
If you like what you've heard today or you're enjoying the show, please do subscribe or find us on social media. And thanks so much for watching and listening today. I didn't think I was going to cry. I was like, there might be a chance I'll cry because your story...